Zacks Rank Buys, stocks with a short-term buy or strong buy recommendation. Now, here are more Zacks Rank Buys. Let's take a look at a couple of aggressive growth stock picks now with Bill Wilton, our aggressive growth stock analyst at Zacks.com. He does a great job trying to go over the data and the details to find these aggressive growth stock picks. You've got a couple of more here with you this time around. A little bit more obscure, at least I've never heard of them. Trina Solar Limited, TSL, is one of them that you wrote about recently.
Yeah, what they do is they're based out of China, and they manufacture solar modules. So alternative energy, especially in China, is a very attractive area because, one, the economy is booming. Two, this search for greener energy has been going on for quite a while now. So these companies are quite hot right now.
So that's more of a global issue than it is just an issue in this country. The greener.
Oh yeah, they just had the meetings in Copenhagen a few weeks ago.
Yep.
And actually people are very concerned about some of the smaller companies being able to take hold of this. So they're expecting a lot of government subsidies, government incentives to develop more green energy because their population is growing so fast. So it's a lot easier to nip it in the bud than let the pollution aspect get out of control. So these solar energy, but they do have a global footprint. So they do distribute to a lot of different countries, a lot of different regions.
Trina does, you're talking about?
Trina, yes. They reported their quarterly results on November 19th. Revenue was down about 14% year over year, but they're seeing a very high sequential growth, which was actually up about 67%. So that's quarter over quarter rather than year over year. So things are really turning around for them. They reported earnings per share of $1.29. So that beat the Zacks consensus estimate by about 54 cents. So it's quite a sizable earnings surprise. They got that on better margins, even though that their year over year revenues were down. These improved margins help them, squeeze more money out of each dollar that came in.
Okay.
They also had a very bullish outlook, which is huge. The CEO said that they had the highest volume in net income in history, or the company's history rather. They also are seeing stronger demand, so this better business environment gives investors confidence moving forward.
Well, it's one thing for the company to have a bullish outlook on themselves, but do we know how the street views this company?
Well, one of the things is, not investors, but CEOs, they'll usually get washed up in this corporate speak. They try to be vague when things are bad, and they also try to not be overly bullish because, that'll make them look bad. And, if they end up not doing well the next quarter, it causes a lot of trouble with them. So the fact that they came out and said we're seeing a better business environment, that's very big in corporate speak when you're looking at these these press releases. As far as how the street views it, the estimates are rising, so that's pretty much an indicator that analysts are expecting things to be as good as the CEO is.
Okay.
The other great thing about Trina Solar, they are seeing an increase in share price, but they're still trading at a good valuation. The PEG ratio's well under 1.0, which is the benchmark for growth at a reasonable price. So they are having excellent growth rates, as well as earnings revisions that'll give them keep them at that solid PEG ratio. One of the things I mentioned that these solar companies are pretty hot lately, as well as all the techs, but especially these solar companies. Here on the chart, you can see that shares of TSL have actually set a new multi-year high, mainly with a sizable gain coming over the last few sessions.
All right, and then recently you also wrote about Cliffs Natural Resources, CLF, the ticker symbol. Contrary to what you may think, this is not a guy named Cliff with a company, but they're mining iron and other metals. Is that what they do?
Yeah, and metallurgic coal, which is used in other manufacturing processes and things like that. They're centered around quickly growing markets. It's one of their core focuses. So they're in South America, as well as the U.S., Canada, and Australia. Like Trina Solar, they also have a very bullish outlook from their most recent quarterly results. They're seeing improved demand and just a better business environment as a whole. A lot of people are really starting to be more optimistic about this global economic turnaround story. So the more global optimism there is, the more demand there's going to be for different raw materials such as iron and coal.
So even though they're a miner, do they also cross over into that alternative energy space somewhat?
No, they're not really an energy-based company. This is more a raw materials play that'll go into production and things like that. So manufacturers need these raw materials, and that's what they do. They acquire and own mines and other natural resource plots.
Okay.
They reported their third consecutive surprise. They saw earnings per share of 45 cents, which was a big surprise because analysts were actually expecting a loss of about 6 cents per share. So they really shocked the street when they reported their last quarterly results. Recently, they've also been added to the S&P 500, which gives investors a lot more exposure to this type of a stock.
That's
it gets added, yeah, because you see a lot of these index funds, and when you're trying to mimic the S&P 500, you need to have a good number, a majority of those companies that are in there. There's different strategies with that, but anytime a company is added to that, they definitely get picked up by more and more mutual funds, ETFs, and things like that. So seeing a lot more attention from institutional investors as well as retail investors.
Right.
In their recent quarterly report, they saw revenues down about 44%, but they're still seeing earnings growth moving forward. So like I said, it's a play on the global turnaround. We did get beat up pretty bad, as did this company, and you can see that in the chart here. So they kind of took a beating, but they are rebounding sharply on that global optimism. Just like Trina Solar, they also set a new multi-year high because they are in a hot industry right now.
Okay. And do you own either of these two?
I do not.
I ask that all the time because we have to be legal here. If you want to check out more aggressive growth stock picks that Bill has written about recently, or stock picks in any other investing category that we write about on Zacks.com, just go to our homepage and look in the upper right-hand corner. We post 4 new stock pick ideas for you there daily that you can link to as far as the articles are concerned. One in each of the investing categories written about on Zacks.com. With Bill Wilton, I'm Terry Ruffalo.